AEW has still yet to announce, though, a single match for All In at Wembley. And I'll be honest, I kind of forgot about this. If I'm being real, I forgot about All In at Wembley for a minute. Here we are. August is headed our way Tuesday. When does the countdown start to start announcing matches for this massive, massive show? What do you think?
We have more matches for All Out than we do All In.
That's what I was going to say. Absolutely. We know what's on the bill for a show that happens afterwards. Why are we not booking this show yet? We're back with another recap of a big week in pro wrestling. Welcome to the Wrestle Chat podcast here on Wrestle Chat TV. My name is the Ant-Man, your host. His name is Michael Glavin. Back to talk wrestling again this week, buddy. And MG, we are 1 week away from meeting up in Detroit for this summer's biggest party, SummerSlam, going down at Ford Field, a premium live event that neither of us have had the opportunity to attend in person until now. And man, I'm starting to feel the butterflies. How about you?
Absolutely. I think the old expression is fit to be tied.
Fit to be
because
tied, yeah.
I am just so stoked. The days cannot come or pass, I should say, fast enough.
Well, before we jump into the ring, I know you and your boys, John, Jay, and Ryan, dropped a brand new episode of the Man-Child Chronicles podcast yesterday. What do you guys have in store on this latest episode?
Well, as a famous song used to say, it's all yellow, man. It's the yellow episode. You know, the Beatles had the white album.
Yeah, sure.
We have the yellow episode. We do a great 8 of the best things that are yellow.
Okay.
And it's something you're not going to want to miss. We also play Movie Roulette, as I told you guys about last week,
Sure.
so definitely check it out.
Any particular reason for the color yellow? Or do we have to watch to find out?
You got to watch to find out, but I'll give you a little bit of spoiler. No.
No, okay, got it.
Nope.
I love the honesty here on the Wrestle Chat podcast. I love that. If you'll scroll down here on our channel to other channels that we love, you'll find the Man-Child Chronicles channel there. Click, watch, and enjoy anytime. Something interesting that dropped yesterday from Sean Ross Sapp on Fightful. AEW has filed for a trademark for AEW Plus. The trademark application described the purpose of the trademark as the streaming of professional wrestling entertainment, video material on the internet. You have to be so specific on those things.
Yep.
As of this recording, there's been no announcement from AEW. I kind of find this news somewhat surprising, though, considering it looked as though AEW and Warner Brothers Discovery were progressing in their television and streaming rights conversations. I would think that that Warner Brothers would want as much of AEW's content, I should say, to be streamed on their Max platform as possible, if indeed they had come to an agreement. Where's your head at when you hear this news?
The business side of it doesn't necessarily faze me very much. I think the first thing that came to mind was, what are they going to show on it?
Right.
Because WWE owns just almost what seems like every library on the face of the planet. Sure, AEW has Ring of Honor, but is it going to be the Ring of Honor streaming network?
On AEW Plus?
Yeah, and past that, how well done has the ROH library been taken care of anyway?
Yeah.
And so you go back to the days of, I think it was Gabe Sapolsky maybe back in Ring of Honor. I mean, I heard back in the day it was on VHS tapes and they were strung about, and so it'd be interesting to see, what the plan is or whatever. But it's interesting nonetheless. It's not going to hurt them to get into the game, but it raises a lot of questions content-wise.
You are right about the content. When the WWE Network started, it actually didn't start with the network on the app. It started with what was it, 24/7 that you could buy as an extra add-on to your cable subscription, and it would just be a channel that just played different things that they threw on there. And some of those episodes you could still watch on the WWE Network. But the reason it worked when they launched it, there was so much to choose from inside there. And if I don't know, I want to be optimistic about this because I want them to succeed, as we've talked about many times. And there's enough negativity that we'll get to here later on in this episode. But if it's for instead of paying for pay-per-views, paying for this, and having one place that you really can watch everything maybe a day later, like a Hulu, where you could watch it on whatever channel that the show plays on, but then the next day you can watch the episode on the app. That might be something cool, but we'll wait to find out. And of course, that was just a filing. That wasn't even an announcement yet. So we do tend to rush and jump ahead when we hear news like this to speculate, but that's part of the fun too. And speaking of AEW, interesting collision last Saturday. CM Punk and Ricky Starks came face to face after Ricky's controversial win over CM Punk in the finals of the Owen Hart Cup tournament, holding onto the ropes for the assistants with the win. Ricky sported an empty Louis Vuitton bag that would actually come into play during his conversation. Punk congratulated Ricky on the win. He came out and gave a big congratulations to Ricky on the win and stated that he could live with the L, but could Ricky live with how he won? That's when Ricky actually referenced this empty bag. My new bag is as empty as that little red bag that you carry around, referring to the bag that Punk has carried with him since his return. Punk's response: do you want a shot at what's inside that bag, or are you like Max and you just don't want me to have it? My plea here is, please do something with these two. Please, please, please. I just hope that it's more than a match and a promo segment involving these two guys. You got any special feelings on this pairing on AEW?
There's definitely something underneath the surface there.
Yeah.
It feels good. We know we want it. It was an interesting segment because you can tell we're building towards something. And, we say all the time on the show we don't want to speak negatively, but I would have really wished the segment just would have landed. But then to bring in Christian and Luchasaurus,
yeah,
I know we had to set up a match for the night. That's fine. Yeah. But it kind of watered down the segment a little bit because I felt like we were on a really good note. But between these two guys, I'm excited to see where it goes. I think there's some good chemistry there. I think it's time for CM Punk to do some business and put some young guys over, and so it'd be good to see that continue to happen.
Agreed.
But yeah, nothing except thumbs up for me.
Collision also showed us what appeared to be the retirement of Daddy Ass, Billy Gunn, following a trio slosh that saw Billy taking the L against the House of Black. Malachi ended up whispering something into Billy's ear, and Billy tearfully unlacing his boots in the corner, and then stands up and plants that pair right in the middle of the ring. Could this really have been Billy's last match ever? What do you think?
I don't know. It seemed very dramatic.
It did.
I feel like we might be seeing, my thoughts were potentially what if Billy's going to transition over to House of Black or something. And, he's putting the Billy Gunn or Daddy Ass character to rest. And that was one thought that came to mind. Otherwise, maybe it is. I mean, nobody can say he hasn't done his time.
That's true, man. And nobody looks that good at whatever age. He has two kids that are wrestling that are in their mid to late 20s, I would guess. And but to be in shape, he might just be hanging those boots up so he can go out when he is still upright and still walking well, still performing well.
He can still move too, which is just incredible.
So good. We'd love to hear from you. Join in on this chat anytime. Drop a comment on this episode with any of your thoughts. You can also join the WrestleChat Discord. The link to that is in the description of this episode. There's not an overwhelming amount of movies that portray the sport that we love, pro wrestling, but this photo right here made the rounds late last week, and man, I am getting excited about this picture right here. That's the latest still from The Iron Claw, a movie based on the Von Erich family. It's coming out on December 22nd. Now check this out. I looked up some of the guys that are in it. Zac Efron, of course, everybody knows. He's playing Kevin Von Erich. A guy named Jeremy Allen White. He is from Shameless, if you ever watched that, and also a series called The Bear. He's playing Kerry Von Erich in this. A guy named Harris Dixon. He's from Where the Crawdads Sing. If you watch that movie, he plays David Von Erich. You and I both know, and many others do, Mara Tierney, I think is how you say her name, from The Affair and from The Office. She is playing their mom, Doris, and MJF. Yeah, the AEW champ plays the Von Erichs in-ring cousin. He wasn't really their cousin in real life, and I wonder if some of that doesn't come out of the controversy that happened when that was brought up in real time back in the 80s. But he plays a guy named Lance Von Erich. Man, I'm looking forward to this. This is the family that I grew up watching. They were based in Dallas, shows from the world-famous Sportatorium, but with all the triumph that family saw, they saw even more tragedy. Kevin being the only living brother left. His sons, Ross and Marshall, are following in the family business. I believe they are an MLW. Looking forward to the Iron Claw December 22nd in theaters. We'll be talking about that more here on this podcast and at WrestleChatPodcast.com. WWE Raw Monday. Cody vowed to embarrass Brock at SummerSlam. Here's my question, though. That's a pretty broad statement, although it seems like a significant statement made towards someone like Brock. But what exactly does embarrass Brock mean? Embarrass him by just beating him? Embarrass him by taking Brock out of action in some kind of humiliating circumstance? There's a lot left to the imagination with a statement like that. What do you think he means by "I'm going to embarrass Brock at SummerSlam"?
I think what it potentially means is that Brock is so used to being in control of everything that he touches that simply putting Brock on the defense is by in and of itself embarrassing him. And before we go too much farther, boy, that guy Cody Rhodes on a mic is just, every week they just give him a slot and he just talks. And you just get lost in it. And don't get me wrong, there's plenty of great, promo guys, over time, but none that can just get you lost in what they're saying. Mm-hmm. You can go back to even Stone Cold, Triple H, The Rock. All of them have their own fantastic style of talking and whatnot. But I'm not going to say that I ever got lost in a Rock promo or necessarily lost in a Stone Cold promo. But Cody has a way of just bridging that gap between, kayfabe, if it still exists, in reality. But just every time he's, especially the last couple weeks that he's been out there, absolutely incredible.
I'm right there with you. I love every time that Cody gets on the mic. Unfortunately, on Raw, we also got the confirmation that Kevin Owens is legitimately injured with a fractured rib and is going to be out of action. The tag straps will not be on the line at SummerSlam. Any chance you see of WWE stripping KO and Sammy of those titles before SummerSlam?
I don't think so. I think with a cracked rib, they're keeping him on TV. So I don't see a situation where they're stripped of them, because I think there's a long-term plan on doing something with them, whether it's putting somebody else over or a storyline that they have for Kevin and Sammy. I think what we're going to see is Kevin Owens, doing his angry bit, the fast-talking angry bit for the next couple of weeks to keep him in front of our eyes. Yeah. But nothing says you can't work a promo with a cracked rib.
That's true.
And so, but no, I don't see the titles getting stripped off of them. I would be very surprised.
You talk to Undertaker, it would be, don't tell me you can't wrestle with a cracked rib either.
Yep, exactly.
Going back to Cody real quick, coming up on Monday right after Raw goes off this coming Monday, we get the premiere of the American Nightmare Becoming Cody Rhodes documentary. This doc has been many, many, many years in the making now. What are you looking forward to seeing most out of this documentary?
I think it's very clear that he's talking about AEW and WWE at face value. Yeah. And I'm really excited to see what is said and not said about the end of his AEW run into coming back to WWE. I mean, for God's sake, he was a vice president or president of the company or whatever. And even though it took, a year or so for this transition from start to finish, that's a long way to go from being in executive management of one company to being on the biggest stage for another company. And so to see what is said or not said about what happened in AEW and then the conversation to get back into WWE, that's what I've got my eyes set on for this documentary.
There's a lot of great kind of behind the scenes and interviews of things from the red carpet of when they did the premiere of this last week. Sean Ross Sapp has a great one. Denise, I can't remember how to say her last name, Sakato, or I believe that's it. She's awesome. She's got a great interview with him, as well as Chris Van Vliet. You should check those out on YouTube if you get the chance as well. Coming up tomorrow night, just down the road, right down the street from Michael and me, it's NXT's Great American Bash, live from the HEB Center in Cedar Park, Texas. An announcement many of us were waiting to hear was finally made concerning the future of Olympic gold medalist Gable Steveson after being introduced to the world at WrestleMania 38. It has been quiet on the Gable front. After a threat from Baron Corbin, Gable said that his decision was just made easier, and he would be wrestling full-time in NXT. And not only that, but now his first match is actually going to be against Baron Corbin at the Great American Bash coming up tomorrow night. Is there a better place for an Olympic gold medalist to premiere than at the Great American Bash?
It works out pretty well.
Sure does.
It's almost like it was planned or something.
Maybe.
But two sides to this. Number one, super glad he's working with Baron Corbin.
Same.
Baron Corbin is one of the most underrated guys in the business today.
And why do you think that is? What do you think? Do you think people just don't give him credit?
I think that's part of it. He's a great worker. He's a company guy. He's willing to go out there and take the squashes as he needs to. But more than that, he's done very well in just a few years of WWE of transforming his character as needed. Some of these promos that we've seen recently in NXT, they're better than most anything else out there right now.
Mm-hmm.
And to sum up the Baron Corbin aspect of it, I know that it's going to be a good match regardless of how green Gable is, because Baron Corbin's going to be there for him.
Right.
And so that's why I think it's going to be a great match, because Baron is the guy to do that. Furthermore, I feel bad for Gable because from the very beginning, he's being compared to Kurt Angle right out of the gate.
Sure is.
And it sucks because there's no way to live up to that. I mean, you hear anybody talk about Kurt Angle, and he essentially walked in the door and was good at wrestling.
At everything.
And so, I hope that for his sake, Gable has dismissed that from his mind. He's going to be his own guy with his own thing, with his own path, living in two different eras of wrestling. But I just hope he doesn't get the Parker Bordeaux treatment and kind of just disappears off the face of the planet due to death by comparison. So I really do wish the best for him.
Yeah, me too. And when I saw Baron come out, and of course, I think when we saw that Gable was going to be in the ring announcing what he was going to be doing next, they weren't having all that to say, I'm going back to the Olympics. I'll see you guys later. It was going to be his announcement for NXT. And then when I saw him being interrupted by Baron Corbin, I thought, there could not be a better person for Gable to be working with in his first outing publicly. So looking forward to that tomorrow night. After main eventing last Tuesday's NXT on USA and winning the North American Championship from Wes Lee, Dirty Dom, and make sure you get that right, he's now Dirty Dom. He went on to main event SmackDown last week, Raw this week, but tomorrow night, Dom's new title is going to be in jeopardy when he takes on Wes Lee and Mustafa Ali in a triple threat. Any chance, do you see Dom's title reign ending just as quickly as it started here?
I'm not sure. I normally lean one way or another on stuff, and I don't know. I don't know. Him winning that title was a surprise to me. So I'm definitely interested in seeing what becomes of that.
Yeah.
There's part of me that, he's playing the slimy heel character. Why not drop a title? But then, I would assume we're building toward, a big Judgment Day, has a bunch of goods in the Judgment Day.
Agreed.
But at the same time, we're already teasing a breakup.
Yeah.
And so it's like, there's so many things that are contradicting each other. I'm literally just going to have to watch and find out because I don't know.
And I like that too. I like just watching and finding out. It's going to be fun. Be sure to check out the Great American Bash coming up tomorrow night, 6 o'clock Central on Peacock. Hey, the chatter on social media this week regarding AEW's Dynamite, it wasn't for a good reason. And many are taking notice. It all had to do with the match between Dr. Britt Baker, DMD, and Taya Valkyrie. Many attacking both women for the performance in the ring. Ironic that right after that match, they cut to a sign in the crowd that read, "Book the women's division better." I mean, you talk about looking like something was planned. That looked like it either was planned to do that or it was just an awful, awful coincidence after that match. The sign, not really the problem, but more so the degrading social media posts regarding both women, specifically Taya Valkyrie. When do you think comments start going too far for you when you see people critiquing things like wrestling? Really anything, but as far as this podcast goes, let's just stick to wrestling. When do comments start going too far for you?
I think it's one thing to attack characters. Man, I hate Dirty Dom. He's so slimy and terrible, this, that, whatever. But when we cross the line to criticizing performance, criticizing looks, people themselves, that's when it really starts to go over the line. We've all seen, moments in professional wrestling that we're not happy with. But there comes a time where, for me, I ask myself the question, I'm allowed to have an opinion. I can have an opinion that I didn't like something, but I'm not going to criticize something unless I can do better. And God knows I can't do better. And so, I think we all need to kind of check ourselves a little bit to say, hey, first of all, if I said this to their faces, which is the way things should be done, I'm going to get my butt handed to me. And then secondly, the truth is very few of us behave in person like we do behind a keyboard. And we just have to remind ourselves that these are real people with real lives, with, a lot of things that they've sacrificed to be doing what they're doing. And let's cut a little bit of slack, and just do our best to be nice people, except for Dirty Dom, because he probably deserves it.
Oh, that's true. That's true. You can do it to him. That's completely fine. Listen, you talk about, and people screw up all the time. Listen, last week on this podcast, I called Santos Escobar Carlos Escobar. I didn't want to say it. I should have said it at the time. You could always say it. But if you go back and watch, you can see my face go, Like almost if there was just a parenthetical statement that went next to this. It was like, hang on a second. The thought bubble pops up and it goes, I don't think that's right, but I'm going to move on. That's kind of what happened. And somebody called me out. And it's kind of, we've talked off camera, off mic about watching of you getting me into Ted Lasso, and there's a great piece, and they're not giving away the show, but there's a place in where he gets criticized by a former fellow coach, and the way he responds makes him the hero. And I would say that there was a lot of chatter about their match, about the way they look, about the way it's booked, all this other stuff, but they got really cutting and just nasty words and stuff. But I think the best thing that the performers can do is make fun of themselves. Yeah. Have fun with it. Yeah, you know what? Neither one of us knew. We didn't see each other all day. We didn't get to talk about that. Whatever it is. It is all, you can't control what other people are going to do, but you can control what you do. You can control your responses, and I think that we as fans can do better though too. AEW has still yet to announce though a one match, not a single match, for All In at Wembley. And I'll be honest, I kind of forgot about this. If I'm being real, I forgot about All In at Wembley for a minute. Here we are. August is headed our way Tuesday. When does the countdown start to start announcing matches for this massive show? What do you think?
We have more matches for All Out than we do All In.
That's what I was going to say. Absolutely. We know what's on the bill for a show that happens afterwards. Why are we not booking this show yet?
I would have to believe there's some type of purpose for it. Maybe to generate a ton of buzz at the very, very end. Maybe they've got some good stuff in store. Mm-hmm. It's a bold strategy, Cotton. Let's see how it plays out.
I don't know. Listen, we want to hear from you on everything that we talk about here on the show. So chime in on this episode with your comments. What do you think about All In? I mean, this is almost a $9 million gate already. There's going to be 70,000 plus at it, and nobody knows what they're watching yet. Chime in what you think about that. Join the Wrestle Chat Discord. The link to that is in the description of this episode. Last night's SmackDown started with Jey Uso, but we quickly heard the Tribal Chief's music. Let me ask you a question. Did you notice anything different about Roman's entrance to kick off the show?
I sure did. We got a few less straps in play
did.
now, don't we?
Less for Paul to carry. Thank goodness. That dude was starting to worry me. I thought he was going to stroke out sweating so much, carrying all that metal and leather. That was the first thing I know. I was like, hang on a second. Something's missing here. Where did those straps go? There were no world or universal titles in tow. The excitement for the tribal conflict continues to build into next week. I mean, at this point, they don't really need to do much. And I know we've still got another SmackDown, another chance for these two to meet. But after last night's show, there's not really another story to tell until they step into the ring at SummerSlam. Agreed, disagree?
I agree. I was really, really high on last week's show, and probably my first critique, potentially ever, of the Bloodline story is I think we blew the load a little fast.
A little quick.
I think that contract signing should have happened this week.
That could have happened last night.
Yeah, with a final stare down potentially next week. This week was still fine. I loved everything that happened. I loved the banter, but now I'm like, what are we gonna do next week?
Yeah.
And so I'm sure there's. I don't want to swerve too quickly because I think some SummerSlam stuff needs to be discussed. But yeah, I still love everything that's going on. No real complaints. I'm just worried that we shot off a little early for where we needed to.
I'll be honest. I'll be fine if I don't see them next Friday too.
Yeah.
Like if I didn't see the Bloodline at all next Friday, I would be completely fine. They would lose no momentum going into Saturday. Some more momentum that did begin on last night's SmackDown is more for LA Knight. There's now a SummerSlam Battle Royal. Is this where we see them strap a rocket and light the fuse for this guy?
Maybe. I can't say that the Andre the Giant Memorial Battle Royal really did much for anybody.
That's true.
If that's the plan, I'm worried. Do I mind if it's just a notch in the belt? By all means, there's nothing wrong with that. But if we're going to try and light the rocket with a battle royal that's never happened before, that's sponsored by Slim Jim, I don't know that that's going to just quite scratch the itch. But I know we'll get something out of it. It's so out of left field with, a week to go from the event. I'm sure they've got something planned.
They need something to kick off the show, right?
That's right.
SummerSlam next Saturday, live from Detroit's Ford Field. If you're going to be there, please connect with us on Instagram at WrestleChat Podcast. We're going to be there, and we would love to meet you in Detroit. If you haven't subscribed to this channel yet and you've enjoyed this show or any of the others, it would mean a lot for us if you hit that follow button on this channel and the notifications bell. Plus, don't forget to like this video as well. Michael, looking forward to seeing you in person next week in Detroit.
See you there, old buddy.
Yeah. Thank you guys for joining us this week. We'll see you for a special SummerSlam edition of the Wrestle Chat Podcast together in the same room next week right here. And we'll see you then.